Hello, I'm Richard Ridge, and welcome to Broadway Beat, where we bring you the very best of what the New York theater scene has to offer. This week we drop by the opening night celebration for the new Broadway production of one of the greatest American musicals of all time, Guys and Dolls, which is playing at the Nederlander Theater. Under the direction of two-time Tony Award winner Des McAnuff, Guys and Dolls stars Oliver Platt, Lauren Graham, Craig Bierko, and Kate Jennings Grant. We'll also stop by the first day of rehearsals for the upcoming Broadway play, IRENA'S VOW, and chat with the show's star, Tova Feldshuh, the playwright Dan Gordon, and director Michael Parva. We'll also give you a look at Frank Ingraziata's new one-man show called Blood Type RAGU, which is playing at the Actors Playhouse. But we start things off by letting you know that Pulitzer Prize-winning playwright Horton Foote has died at the age of 92. He is best remembered for his many tales of family, community, and the triumph of the human spirit. He was last represented on Broadway with his critically acclaimed play, Dividing the Estate. Here is one of the last interviews Horton ever did, which was opening night for that play.
Oh, for goodness me. I'm just overcome by the enthusiasm and the warmth of the audience and the sense of real pleasure they seem to have taken from.
And just talk about this wonderful company and this cast and this production that was put together. Talk about that.
Well, the director was Michael Wilson, and we've worked together many times before, and I kind of suspected how he would do this, but I was totally surprised, really. He brought ideas and sense of caring, and it was just unmistakable. And he inspired the actors, and they all just worked as hard as they could, and we had a good production, I think.
Because you love the collaboration process in the rehearsal room, don't you?
Oh, I do. I love it. I love rehearsals. I'd spend my life in rehearsals if I could.
Because Gerald McRaney said his most favorite part, besides doing the show, was the rehearsal time. He wishes he could just go back and just keep repeating, working with you and Michael.
That's right. That's wonderful.
Now, would you just take me back to the genesis of the play and how you came about to write this play?
Well, it just came out of a lifetime of hearing about stories about dividing the estate and how they all were a variation of a theme. And I tried to find a way to crystallize those in the theatrical evening.
And why did you set the play in the 1980s?
That's when it took place. There was a downturn in the economy and things were happening. That's very truthful in the play.
You know, it's as relevant today as it was in the 80s.
It's unexpectedly so. I didn't think we would find it again. But here it is. They're foreclosing on houses from one end of the continent to the other.
Blood Type RAGU is the new one-man show written and performed by Frank Ingraziata at the Actors Playhouse. Under the direction of Ted Sod, this hilarious evening tells the story of a family that immigrates between Sicily and America. Here's a look at Blood Type RAGU.
Who's Casper? Your father, silly. Don't you know your father? Apparently not. Too bad it didn't work out with your mother. I feel terrible. Casper, bring a lemon goat out of the oven, would you, Jolly Bear? Monsieur Nancy. During dinner, he waited on her like a lovesick schoolboy. More sorrel, Frank? What is sorrel? You're Italian and you don't know more sorrel. Do you mean mozzarella? That's what I said. More sorrel. Casper teaches me Italian on the bus to Atlantic City. And then, we whoopee all night. Right, Casper? Mwah. My father turns for our approval of her. I wanted to vomit my monogote and more sorrel all over this Pagliacci clown in a bozo wig. Now, I never knew any of my neighbors' real names because my mother had nicknamed everyone by their most outstanding feature or characteristic. So out comes La Judah, the Jew. A very attached old Jewish couple, whether together or alone. My mother labeled them just the Jew. Also making a rare appearance was a milky-skinned vampire you see once a month through the crack of her door to shake out her dust rag. She was marked La Morte Passione, the passionate dead woman. Followed by her husband, a Quasimodo-like man with a protruding underbite and a fur coat growing out of his back. He was tagged Il Gobbo di Lana, the woolly hunchback. Already on her porch was my friend Joey's mom with house coat, pink curlers, stockings rolled down to her knees, sitting in her favorite spread-leg position in front of her lawn statue of the Virgin Mary. Under her breath, my mother would say, "Ah, vergogna, shame on you, that the Madonna has to view that." She was branded La Camarata con le gosce aperte, Mrs. Camarata with her legs spread open. From the crowd of aunts, my father's sister Zia Bettina appears. Big e fatto grande Luca, look how big he got. Oh, come to our house for breakfast. We haven't seen you in 20 years, so now we want to sew you into our skin and wear you as a blouse. From the maze of uncles, my father's brother, Zio Gaetano, presents himself. Madonna mia, è so pace scucciato. Someone scraped off his father's face and pasted it on his. Come to our house for lunch. An ocean separated us, so now we want to drain you of your blood and drink you alive for wine. No 12 to eat. I'm in a land of no television, no Etch-a-Sketch, no boundaries.
After a sold-out run off-Broadway, Dan Gordon's riveting new play, IRENA'S VOW, is coming uptown to Broadway's Walter Kerr Theater, where it will open on March 29th, starring the renowned Tova Feldshuh. We stopped by the first day of rehearsal to meet the cast and chat with director Michael Parva.
It was extraordinarily easy to write. In that I had known Irene for already about 2 years before I started to write anything. And all I was trying to do was to capture the way she spoke and the way she told her story. So I had in front of me this living example that it was almost as if she was whispering my ear half the time. It's the only time I've ever written where I had to isolate myself. I had a ranch in Colorado, and there was a basement in the ranch. And I flew up there by myself, went into the basement, blocked out all the lights, and stayed in the basement and wrote nonstop for 72 hours. And when I was done, I had finished it. And it all came out as a piece. It was not, slaving through this day, that day. It was 72 hours straight. I think I got maybe 2-3 hours sleep. I ate with the typewriter next to me. I just plowed through it and did it. And it's the only time that's ever happened in my career where it just all came out as a piece. And pretty much has survived intact through all the various incarnations that it's had. It was once as a feature, it was once as a television piece, it was as a play with 2 different actresses playing Irene, one older, one younger. But the basic play has survived pretty much what happened in that 72 hours.
Talk about the first performance in New York, watching Tova and this company on stage with an audience in the house, how you felt.
There's a thrill that writers know, which is I think if they're ever honest, the thrill is you come into either a theater or a movie set and you see either cameras or an audience and actors, and you go, holy shit, they took this seriously. I mean, they actually built sets and people sold tickets and they came. I didn't mean it to be this serious, because when you're doing it, you're alone. So to see it to come to life, there's that first initial of shock of, holy cow, they took it seriously. Then, as it began to unfold, a wondrous thing happened, which was I forgot that I wrote it. And I was able to watch it as an audience member because of the artistry of the people involved, of all the actors, of Tova, of Michael's directing, of a spectacular set. It just sucked me in. And then the third thing that happened, which was extraordinary, was I, who had known Irena fairly well, saw her on stage. And she had been dead for 5 years, or what passes for death. But there she was on stage, and there was no question about it. And it was, it had nothing to do with me. It felt like I was totally divorced from it. It had, like, this was something that was born of its own and had absolutely nothing to do with me. And as a member of the audience, I stood up and cheered as loud as anybody did in gratitude for a great performance that I felt completely divorced from in the nicest way.
And, it's funny. Immediately we thought Tova really should be involved in this kind of work that she would appreciate. And it was interesting because the lead woman is a Catholic woman. And, of course, when I spoke to Tova about it, she immediately jumped all over it because Tova likes the challenge of playing parts that are not always typecast for her. So we put her in a blonde wig, and there we were.
So talk to me about the challenges for you as a director with working on this piece. Were there challenges?
Absolutely. It's a very, very strong narrative. But it was originally, the way Dan decided to tell the story was more in line with the film. So when I first got the script, there were a lot of challenges in translating it into a stage production. I decided to go with that and I embraced that. I actually like the combination of Dan's film quality of writing as it applies to stage. So I embraced it and loved the challenges of it. But it does pose a challenge because a lot of these scenes move in and out of time very, very quickly and require technical ease.
Take me back to the first performance off-Broadway with an audience and how it made you feel that night.
Oh, it was an incredible feeling. It really was, because you just towards the last 10 minutes of the play, the audience was just so with us. First of all, you could hear a pin drop throughout the whole play. And the play is very exciting in the sense that there's a lot of action involved. And I was amazed at how quiet the audience was in following this. They didn't want to lose one bit of it. And then towards the end of the play, they were so moved by this play that you could feel it. You could absolutely feel it. More than the average play, really more than the average play. So it was wonderful. It was wonderful to get that back from the audience.
This whole story, like you say, you tell in the show, you say this is all a true story.
It's true.
Yeah.
You wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't believe it if it weren't true. And it came upon her, and because of her own decency, her own simple decency and wonderful background and loving parents, I think she was brought up with an abundance of love. She just did the right thing, and I hope that you and I would do the same. I would hope that if I'm swimming in the ocean and a child, Palestinian, a child even of Al-Qaeda, if a child were drowning, it is my duty as a human being to stretch out my arm to help him come in to shore.
I want to talk about the audience's reaction to this. You couldn't beg, borrow, or steal a seat to this show off-Broadway. And I'm so thrilled that you're going into the Walter Kerr, that so many more people can see this show. How you felt night after night with the audience's reaction to this show?
I felt astonished. I didn't know what was going on. I couldn't figure out. I knew we had a wonderful story, but I didn't know it was at who plays at 100% capacity without an ad? I mean, I've played at sold-out houses. Don't get me wrong. I've played in hits and flops. I've played in hits, but I've never played in a hit without an ad. Not one ad. Not one. And you couldn't get in the theater. No. 220 seats. We're going to 956 seats. We invite everyone to come, and we, like every good show, have that wonderful $49.50 special on our previews, all through our previews. And then once we open, I think, house seats are $98, but there'll be all sorts of deals. We want everybody to come. We want schools to come. And people are buying tickets. One person bought 70 tickets for the Wednesday matinee. 70. So people are buying reams of tickets, school loads of tickets, because it's a story against the backdrop of a new administration that has asked us as citizens of the United States, the greatest democracy in the Western world, to have the audacity of hope, the vision of change, and the president is saying, I cannot do this without you. You are powerful. I acknowledge you. Roll up your sleeves and help me. I need you, and you matter. You matter to me. That's really what this show says. This show says, if Irena Gut can do this, think what you can do. This is not somebody who went to Yale and Harvard and had an elite education. She's not a CEO. She's not an Ivy Leaguer. Just an ordinary kid. She happened to be studying nursing. She might have been a shoe salesman, a beautician. But she made all the right decisions under the most horrendous circumstances. And if she can do it, we can do it.
You'd be surprised how many people are trying to pass themselves off as Germans these days. Now, what seems to be your problem? If a worker faints, it endangers the efficiency of the entire plant. I won't have that.
No. Please, Herr Major, you can ask anyone here. I'm a very good worker. Really. It's just that I was interred by the Russians. I had a little anemia. But I'm much better now. I'm strong as a horse. Really, you'll see. And I want to work. But I've wasted too much of your time. I must get back to my work. Excuse me, please, Herr Major.
No. Work is too difficult for you. It's obvious. It's a waste of time to have you on the assembly line. Your German is excellent. You're honest. I think we have another job for which you are better suited. How are you at kitchen work and serving food?
How am I? Oh, Herr Major, even though we had servants, my mother trained me in all aspects of food preparation and all manners of housework, and how to be a good hostess. I can also launder, sew, alter. I can even do fine needlepoint. I can cook, clean, scour, scrub.
Good. We need someone to bring a little efficiency into the laundry as well, huh? You'll start immediately.
One of the greatest American musical comedies of all time, Guys and Dolls, is back on Broadway, this time at the Nederlander Theater. It stars Oliver Platt, Lauren Graham, Craig Bierko, and Kate Jennings-Grant. Guys and Dolls features choreography by Sergio Trujillo and is directed by two-time Tony Award winner Des McAnuff.
If the size of your bundle you want to increase, we'll arrange that you go broke in quiet and peace. In a hideout provided by Nathan, where there are no neighbors to squawk. It's the oldest established permanent clothing in New York.
Yeah, essentially, I think it's probably a rather obvious idea, but I just wanted to go back to Damon Runyon's time, which, he wrote the Broadway stories between 29 and 37. And so we've said it, very loosely in 35. Of course, it's a mythic landscape anyway. But I asked Jo Lesser about this idea, and she thought that Frank would like it. So that was good enough for me.
I think ultimately was to tell the best story that we could, given the original material. It does. I mean, the Frank Lesser and Abe Burrows show is you can't beat that. What we wanted to do was take Damon Runyon's world and really be truthful to it and pay homage to it. So what we did was we took the original stories, the Broadway stories, we read them all, and Des and I both went our separate ways, and then we came together and we decided that we wanted to pay tribute to his stories. So we said a lot of the show, actually the show itself is set in the 30s, which is when the original stories were written.
The choreography is superb. One of the most famous numbers in the show, of course, is Luck Be a Lady. Talk about what you wanted to do with that.
I had the biggest challenge because I have the great Michael Kidd to follow up to live up to, basically. So I created my own world. I had all the information, and I wanted to tell a really thorough story. I wanted to also, in casting the show, I wanted to find dancers and actors that can move well, but also I wanted to find dancers who were characters, because I didn't feel like the show should live in a place where there was dancers and there's the singers and the actors. I wanted them to have their own sort of colors and characters. So, I think a lot of the success of Luck Be a Lady, my version of it, is the fact that you don't know who's a dancer and who's an actor. All of them, and inhabit this world and create a really, really great story.
I have horrible nerves, and we get in rehearsal and we cook up these arrangements that go higher than life, and then I think, oh God, I actually have to do these arrangements night after night. And there's such an expectation with these songs, and they're beloved by the audience, and my heart beats so fast, and oftentimes after it's over, I don't even remember having done it. So after the show is over, there's this sense of like, ooh, okay, we did it. I usually generally feel the excitement of it the next day after it's over, but it's awesome, the roar, it's deafening, and I don't know, it's great. I feel like a lucky man. It's cool.
Oh, the devil drag you under, and the devil, and you'll never float it down, 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 down.
Honestly, I've never seen a single production of this show, so I have no idea how I measure against anybody else or what anybody else did. So I just made her kind of a buttoned up, sexually repressed, but churning character. And I think that that's true with a lot of people who are religious. They are tamping down a lot of stuff. So
these people have admitted something. All four characters have to admit something to themselves, and they have to strip something away, and their soul has to emerge. And that's what's happening to this guy. He's giving everything up. He's giving up kind of the material world and he's gonna roll the dice that there's something better, and he doesn't know what it is. And everybody who is an adult has experienced a moment like this. It might not be as dramatic. It certainly isn't musical, I would imagine, but Des wanted to strip that moment down so that idea was communicated, and then we could build up from there. So he makes a choice that I don't want to blow for anybody, but he makes a very stark, naked choice that I've never seen before, and quite frankly, when he told me about it, I didn't think that it would work. And I think it does, and it's it's a very moving moment to experience, and you can sort of hear it being experienced on stage, too, which is very gratifying.
Take away great friendships and a great respect and love for this material. It's just part of an American legacy, this part. And I think every day going outside and seeing the little kids from around the country who are playing Nathan Detroit and Sarah Brown and spotting who's who, and just realizing that this is a story that we tell in schools all over the country, and it's part of our American history. It's a great, great privilege.
It was really interesting. It was very it's not as easy as you would think. You think, oh, Guys and Dolls, they're doing 10 productions in high school as we speak, but it's very to take the material as seriously as we're taking it, if you will. It's a very narrow bandwidth, and it's been very challenging and very rewarding to finally find it,
You promised me this, you promised me that, you promised me everything under the sun, then you give me a kiss and you're grabbing your hat, you're off to the races again. When I think of the time gone by, I think of the way I tried, I could honestly die.
Call a lawyer and sue me, what can you do me? I love you. Give a holler and hate me. Go ahead, hate me. I love you.
The best years of my life, I was a fool to give to
All right, already.
just can't believe how beautiful the writing is and how relevant. You know, I mean, I don't think men and women have changed very much because the same issues seem to resonate with people in the audience today. And I just really, I'm bowled over endlessly by the beauty of how well it's written and the music and just, you know, it's truly a classic show.
Let's talk about those iconic scores. This is one of like the top 2 or 3 scores ever written by Frank Lesser, doing those wonderful songs.
Yeah. I wasn't as familiar with this musical as I was with others growing up for whatever reason, and I feel glad about that because it would have been harder if I had more of an expectation about filling someone's shoes, you know, in this music. I just really came to it fresh and just got to appreciate and kind of, you know, make it mine, as opposed to feeling like I'm doing Julie Andrews or something. You know what I mean? Like because Sound of Music we watched in my family like every other day. So I feel lucky to have gotten the chance to do such beautiful material, but I wasn't too haunted by it when I started.
Luck be a lady tonight. Luck be a lady tonight. Luck if you've ever been a lady to begin with. Luck be a lady tonight. Luck let a gentleman see. Luck let a gentleman see. How nice and tame you can be. How nice and tame you can be. I know the way you treated other guys on the way. Luck be a lady with me. Let's keep the party polite. Let's keep the party polite. Never get out of my sight. Never get out of my sight. Stick with me, baby. I'm the fella you came in with. Luck be a lady. Luck be a lady. Luck be a lady. Luck be a lady. Luck be a lady.